So grab your 20 blocks and let's connect this quilt. Hi there, I'm April Sawtelle and welcome to my channel. You know I've been following along with Jackie Loos Junkout 63 Studios 2026 Stars and Stripes Quilt Block Challenge. Today's the day we're going to finish and wrap this quilt up. On Jackie's last video, she showed us how to connect this, and she also has a video on specific instructions as to make the connectors. I'm just going to go through real quick and show you how I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take you along with me as I connect the quilt. You're just going to need an iron, you're going to need your ruler, rotary cutter, seam ripper. I have used my seam ripper a little bit here, so you will want to have that handy. I've got my bind and maker tool. You're going to need some pins, and you're going to need your connecting fabric. I'm going to be using white for my connecting fabric, and again, if you jump on over to Jackie's site, she'll give you like the amounts that you're going to need. Okay, let's get started. First thing that I did, I cut a bunch of strips down to 2 inches. This is going to be for my connectors. Each block will have a connector to its right hand side, except on the edge. Jackie connects the first 2, then the second 2, then connects the middles. I just go straight across. I'll get more into that as we go. Get your iron nice and hot. I'm going to be using steam with mine. You're going to take your strips of fabric and you're going to start making your connectors. So it's just like making any other binding. Just take your strips of fabric. I've got mine at 2 inches, and then I'm just going to cut the selvage off. I'm going to take the end of each strip and connect it to one of the ends of the strip. I'm going to sew 1/4 inch all the way down. I'm going to grab that strip, bring it over, and then add another strip to that. And I'm going to do that all the way through till I have a nice long piece of fabric. I'm going to do that till I have something that looks about like this. Now these have all been sewn together, so now I just need to snip them. We're going to try to get one continuous strip, and this is how you would make binding. This is just going to be now for the connectors. So it just continues on. But if you sew it the way I just showed you, you'll just get one continuous strip. Cut the threads. So now you just have this one big strip of what looks like binding. Make sure your little seam here is face up, and then you're just going to take your little binding tool, and I'm going to use the biggest one in the kit, and I'm going to fold my fabric here on the edge. I'm going to just fold that over so I get a point, and I'm going to take my owl. I'll have a point. I'll stick it in my little binding tool. By using my 2-inch binding tool will give me 1 inch when I'm done. So you're just going to pull that through. You can get these little binding tools right on Amazon. And actually, if you go on Jackie's site, she does have a link to it, and you can go right into her store to purchase this. And then it's going to fold it in half, so then you're just going to keep pressing. So it's going to be looking like this. I like to hold mine by the handle here, and I like to keep my fingers in behind it to roll that up so it will fall toward the middles of the binding tool, because sometimes it likes to turn over. So if you just hold on to that and curl these 2 sides inward and iron as you go, you'll be able to get this. You're going to need quite a bit of this, so you're going to need to get busy making your connectors. So you're just going to make this into long, continuous strips. And when you get to the seam pulls out really hard. So I always just pull mine out and then just press it down flat. It does take a little bit of forcing to get that out. If you ever feel like it's folded the wrong way, sometimes what I'll do is I'll just pull this back down and then back again, and then it usually will fold itself the right way. And if you just keep it pulled a little taut at all times, and I like to keep my point facing downward. So again, I'm rolling the 2 sides a little bit in my hand as I'm holding, not really rolling it, I'm just like guiding it. It's just like I have my hands faced so the fabric will face upward and that will allow it to curl in as I pull. I'm really kind of just guiding it with my thumb in the back. And when you get to the seam, again, I do have to force it over that seam. It just takes a couple of minutes to get that feeling coordinated with this. And then once you've got it, it's pretty easy. Okay, see here how it kind of all messed up? I'm just gonna guide my tool back down and have my iron go to where it messed up, which was on the seam. Push it back through and do that again, and be a little more careful with my hands guiding it. All right, I can feel that it's starting to mess up again. It could be because I don't cut it on the bias. I just cut it straight across and do it that way. Maybe if it was cut on the bias, might make a big difference. I didn't really want to cut it on the bias. I just wanted to make straight cuts. It just takes an extra second or two to straighten it out every once in a while. You know what's a really good feeling? When you can see the end. It's not a hard process. It's just not my favorite. Okay, here we go. Right up to the end. Woohoo! All right. So you are going to need a lot of this. Now, the exact amount, I don't know. What I've done is I just keep making it as I'm going. Once you get that made, you're going to need to start connecting these. So all you're going to do, and I'll take you over to the sewing machine, you're going to put wrong sides together. So you're going to put the sides that are opened, and you're going to connect them together. This part's really easy. We're going to take this to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew right down the middle. And when you're done, you have connectors. And the connectors are, you can see it's sewn right down the center. We're going to be able to open this up and put our quilt block inside of that on one side and inside of that on the other side. Now, I do this all at the sewing machine, so I'm going to take you over there and I'm just going to show you the way that I do it. Okay, I'll see you at the sewing machine. Hey, I'm working on my Janome 6700 piece sewing machine because I need the zigzag stitch, and I will tell you she's very finicky. So I'm going to be going really slow through this process. As soon as she hits a little bump, she gets a little upset. I sure would be happy if Juki would come up with a 2010 QTL zigzag sewing machine. I always wonder why they don't do that. I think there'd be a lot of people that would buy them. I certainly would. I would put my order in right as soon as they told me they were going to be offering that. Because I just love my Juki TL 2010Q straight machine. They don't have the zigzag one out that's like that. And wouldn't that just be great? If you're a Juki owner and you have that machine, you know what I'm talking about probably. Because this little girl, she just is a little cranky. All right, let's make our casings. I'm not paying attention as to how much I actually need. I'm just kind of sewing it as I go. I'm not going to be able to give any amounts or anything like that. It's just one of those things. Just make a whole bunch, make one long big strip or several long strips. And once you get going, you'll see what I mean. Okay, I'm just lining this down the center. And you can see one thing I was very worried about at the beginning was sometimes my pieces don't like touch each other in lots of areas. Sometimes I have some big gaps, like right here something happened. Probably just the way the fabric was cut, but that's not going to bother me. I'm going to leave that just like that because when this closes up, that will be all closed in. So at first, when I first was trying this, I was having a little bit of a hard time with that because I just couldn't keep it. Even with the binding tool, I couldn't keep it close together in some spots. And then I realized it wasn't a big deal. I'm going to make a straight line. Okay, once your presser foot has tension on it, you can just basically hold these two together. So you've laid them down with the two openings connected. Again, don't worry if some of it's opened or some of it's closed. It's not going to matter because you'll see here in a second what I mean. Just sew all the way down, and you can get a pretty good momentum going once you start. I've never done a quilt as you go, so I've never done this method before, but I can tell you, I really like it. And it took me a little bit of practice. I started with the wrong fabric. I tried using an old sheet and it was just so flimsy, and I made it at 2.5 inches. I had to do all the fold overs myself, and I did not like that. It was just a mess. So I took that all apart after I did the whole quilt. Now I've got a little bit of experience here because I've already done one and taken it apart. And I'll have to put that one back together as well. Again, I might not be hitting that middle inside. See, I'm not. Can you see that? It's not even connecting there. And that's okay, because when I go in with my zigzag stitch, that is going to connect that. So it won't come undone. So it's not like I'm trying to sew the two middles to connect the fabric on the inside. I'm just sewing down the middle to give me two openings here. When I come over the seams though, usually they're not right together. My machine does not like it if they overlap. I go a little slow because she's a little finicky. Okay, I'm just going to snip here at the end. All right. You're going to need your diagram, and that's going to line you up on how you're going to lay out your blocks. Now, you can lay this out any way you want to. This is how Jackie did it, and I'm just following along with her, so I'm going to stick to this layout. So I'm going to work on this row here. So I'm going to line these up beside me. I'll keep this here so I can keep lining myself up the right way. I'm going to keep my scissors, and I'm going to keep my seam ripper here at all times. Okay, each block's going to need 12 inches, but I want a little overhang. So you could pre-cut these if you wanted to. I'm not. I'm just going to do it as I go. And I'm going to just cut like 12.5 inches. You might want your lint roller and just take off any of this loose threads. All you're going to do is you're going to take your case in here. And you're going to open this. Put your block inside. And just make sure you leave a little overhang on the edge, okay? And what I like to do now, because I've done this now, I've been practicing. So I'm going to set my presser foot on top. See this toe right here? I'm going to line that toe on the edge of my fabric. I'm going to set my machine to a zigzag stitch. I'm going to put it at 7, and I'm going to set my stitch length to 3.3. So I'm just going to push this in here. Jackie will show you how she does it. She'll use glue. You could use pins or glue, or you could just hold it. I'm just going to hold it. So I'm going to hold this over. I've got my toe here, again, lined up right on the edge here. It's bringing me right where I want it. This stitch length is perfect for what I'm looking for. This is really easy. It might look complicated. You've got the tension up here now, so that tension will just hold your block really right in place. Just fold that over, and then every once in a while just pick it up and make sure it's pulled over. Usually once you get it there, it's not too bad, and you can adjust as you go. And it's bringing it right to the edge, and I will show you that here in just a second. And you can get a pretty good momentum going, really. Okay, come right to the end. Now let me show you, and it's white on white, so it's going to be a little hard to see. But you can see here, see how the stitch is coming right to the edge and then just in where I want it to come? So you can see here how the stitch comes right over and hits that edge. You're going to want to play around with that on a practice piece just to see if you can get that right where you want it to fall. I like it really how that fits right there. Now if I keep my stitch length at that the whole time, this is what I'm going to end up with as a result. And then the back is pretty good. It's not that as close to the edge, but that's okay. It's going to hold that down really good. I'll look at my diagram. Now I can see the next block is this one. So that would be this one. I did try the binding. Remember, I was telling you I used a sheet that did not work. It was not stiff enough. I just didn't like it. I was practicing, and it wasn't really anything I wanted to do. It was too flimsy. I realized I didn't like the connectors that wide, and it did cover up more of my quilt block. So I decided to do the same size as Jackie, and I really, really like this size. Okay, so I've got my presser foot. I'm gonna open my casing, and again, look, it's not even locked in there. It doesn't matter because it's gonna get locked in. I spent way too much time trying to lock that in. And then I realized that it didn't matter after all. I'm gonna line the edge of the fabric right up to the edge of this toe. Right here. This inner toe to the fabric. That's my guide. Now I have my tension, and I just left a little piece up above. Insert my block, and you just really, the only thing you want to do is make sure your blocks are even at the top. So you're not off on the bottom. That did happen to me a couple times too, where I had to undo it because I was bringing one of the blocks up too high. Okay, now I'm just going to continue on. And again, my little girl sewing machine here is this is thick for her. She does not like thick fabric. And of course, you know my Juki, she really likes thick fabric. But she's just a straight stitch. So every once in a while, you do have to adjust because it might start to bunch up, and then we don't want that. I want to keep the toe just on top of the fabric. Just a smidge. So it's right on the edge, it's a little bit underneath, and that way it holds that pressure down on it. You can just see how nice that is. Comes right over toward the edge. We'll look on the back. It's just nice and tight. Okay, so now we're going to go to this one. But first we need to add a casing to this side. Take your casing. And I'm just going to measure just a smidge longer, not too much. Okay, now take your casing, open it, lay it in just a little bit above, lay your presser foot down right up to, I say up to, but you know, again, it's just a smidge underneath the foot. Really just to hold that down for, all right, put that over it, straighten yourself up. You might need to fold your quilt over a little bit so it's not too bulky. And I'm going to start. Making sure that's over all the way. It really does glide right through. And do that right up till the end. There, that one looks great. That one looks really good. Some might be because it's not really on the bias, and it might get a bias piece under there so it gets stretchy. For the most part, it's going to look great. Now we're just going to connect the next block, doing the same thing. The only thing you want to be careful of, well, let me just show you here. After you've got these connected, make sure you're even with your other block. You don't want to be off, or you're going to have to tear it and start over because you don't want it to have an overhang somewhere. The block itself, not the casing. And I'll start my stitching. I've got this tension, so I can just open this and get it in. I'm not even looking to get the whole thing in. I'm just getting it in, just like I know I'm good till here, so I'll sew till there. All right, and then I'll stop and I'll just make sure I'm in. Adjust, pull that over. Sew down. See how this has some little lumps and ripples in it? Now, I don't worry about stuff like that because even though you see that on there, this is going to get washed. This is going to get so crinkly and great that you will never ever notice that. All you care is that this is all strapped down, and look at that. That's beautiful. I really, really have to say I love this technique. And we're going to connect one more. Again, I'm not pre-cutting any of the casing at all. I'm just doing it as I go. It's just really easy. It's one less step probably that I have to do. I can do it all at my sewing machine. I always feel more coordinated at my sewing machine because I always have the tension and I can maneuver it better here than I can doing it at my work table and then bringing it stuff over. When you watch Jackie's video, she really puts that glue on nice, and she's very coordinated with her glue, and I'm not. I'm very messy and it gets everywhere. And but if you watch her video, you'll see her technique, and it's really great. Okay, you can see that's all still under there, right? Like, it's still there. You just need very little readjusting, really. And I think some of these pieces of casing come out a little bit better than others. I think they're just either, it's how they're cut, and some go with no ripples and some get ripples. Like this one, no ripples. Beautiful. No ripples in that one. But see this back here? This is so crinkly. I tried pressing that out and really had a hard time getting the wrinkles. So that's what I want it to look like in the end. It's going to be all crinkled up. So that doesn't bother me either. We're on the last block for this row. Again, make sure that's straight. Okay, just line yourself up and continue on. Sometimes my little toe is not on the white at all. Sometimes I notice it comes off, but that's okay. As long as I am clearing, like I said in the beginning, right here, as long as I'm up to this foot, but you can see I'm just like this, that much onto the white. That much under the foot. Yeah, it's all, some just wants to fold up when you're under it, and some pieces don't. I do feel though that a nice stiff fabric, this might be a good time to either use starch, or like the fabric I'm using for this white is a really good, it's a Riley Blake, but it's really, it's nice and stiff. So that will soften up when I wash it. But I like how it feels for this binding, and I will always do that from now on when I do binding or when I do sashing, or now that I've done this casing, when I do casing, I'm going to look for a stiffer fabric. That I will do. I did definitely learn that through this process. All right, see how this one got pretty bunchy? I'm still okay with that. I'm going to leave that. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just trim off all of the casing now. So now all 5 rows per quilt are done. Remember, I'm doing 2 quilts here. So the blocks are all connected now, and I've got it done for both here. So now you're just going to take your connecting pieces. I'm not going to cut this down until I am at the sewing machine. And I'm just going to start putting row 1 to row 2, row 2 to row 3, and so on and so forth. I'm going to take you over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. One thing I'm going to point out is how we're going to match up these lines here. This is just like sashing. Okay, let's head to the sewing machine. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put row 1 to row 2. So take your diagram, and you're going to keep track this way, because you don't want to get this confused if you're going with an order. I'm just going to go with the same order as Jackie has on a printout, but you can go with any order that you would like. I'll do this as my first row, and I'm going to do this one as my second row. So let's do that. Now you're going to maybe want to have this folded up as you get to your machine. So there's row 1. We're going to put row 2 at the bottom. You don't want to put it at the top, or it won't fall into the right order. So row 2 will go right directly under row 1. Okay. Got those 2 lined up. So what I'll do is I'm going to put right sides together. No, I'm not. I'm not putting right sides together. Almost forgot about that. You don't need to put right sides together. I've already done this. So now I'm just going to take a casing on row 1. And I've got my casing right here, and I'm going to do the same exact thing I've been doing. I'm going to give a little overhang, start my stitch, keeping the same stitch length that I've kept, which was 7 and 3.3. Okay, and I'll start sewing. Put your row right inside, and again, you can use glue or pins or whatever works for you. I'm going to just kind of do it as I go. I'm going to do a little bit at a time here, lining up my presser foot the same way that I had lined it up with my blocks, right on the edge of my presser foot toe. I'm going to sew until I come all the way down to my fingers, and then I'll just maneuver myself. Now, I'm going to be over my casing here, so I want to go a little bit slow, and I'm just going to keep maneuvering myself. It's very easy to maneuver yourself, though. It looks really like it's not, but it really isn't bad, because it kind of stays right in place for you if you just, you know, when you're pulling on it a little bit. And you can see that's all looking really good here. This is a casing, but it's giving it that sashing. But it's really easy. Jackie really came up with a great method here. Even though I've never done a quilt as you go, this seems like a really good method compared to some others that I've seen. I've never done it, any of them. I've quilted as you go, but I always make little small things with it. I've never made a full-blown quilt. Once you get going, it really is, it's not hard. It's just getting that groove and finding where you want your stitch to land. Once you figure that all out, it's pretty easy. And of course, you do have to make quite a lot of casing, and I didn't make a lot. You know, I wouldn't make enough to do the whole quilt, so I've had to do that a few times. But knowing what I know now, I would probably just spend, you know, more time making the casing before I started. Okay, that row is done. I'm going to cut that off. Boop, just like that. And now that first piece of sashing, look how nice that is. There's the front. And there's the back, and it's just, you can see it's up really close to the edge, which is great. Okay, I'm gonna just flip this around. Now I'm gonna look at my diagram, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm lining this up according to the diagram, so I can see on row 1 what comes directly under it at the beginning row. So I'll make sure it's all lined up. I know this is going to be row 2. This is going to be the beginning. So I'm going to be starting at the end up here. Make sure you're just looking at your diagram is all. And I'm going to just put some stitches. I'm going to put that right in my casing, line up my right hand part of my presser foot, and put some stitches. And my thread machine came unthreaded about the 10th time today. I don't know why it keeps coming unthreaded. I'm still going to talk pretty to my machine because I don't want her to act out. And if I talk not so pretty to her, she might not let me finish this quilt, and I really need to. So, she's a pretty girl. She's a pretty girl. She's going to get me through this project. I really need to use this machine for this project because it has the zigzag stitches, and my other machines up in the garage, they do have zigzag stitches, but they don't work very well either. So I just really want to be on my G. Chuki, please work right. She's just so finicky. That one broke the needle. See, I wasn't even doing anything, and the needle broke. I haven't broken a needle in a long time, but this is the 10th time I've had to rethread it. Okay, let me fix this little pretty girl and put a new needle in her. She didn't mean to. It's not her fault. All right, where were we? Let's put row 2 to row 1. Come on, pretty girl. You can do this. I know you can. I believe in you. Couple easy, gentle stitches. Okay. We're rolling right along here. Now, what I need to do, let me go a little further so I can show you. You're going to need to keep lifting this up so you don't have any drape. And I need to line these two pieces of casing up inside before I get going too much further. I need to match those up. I'm just going to match them up by eye. But what I'm doing here is right here. I want to make sure that's straight across. And okay, I want to make sure that those are going to connect in a straight line. Hold your finger because you might have to maneuver a little bit to do that. I didn't really have to maneuver here, but I have to get rid of this drape because this sewing machine is not liking this. And I need to make sure I'm still lined up for my intersections here. I need to make sure that this is connecting to this straight. So I want to hold my finger right there so it doesn't shift. And I'm coming right over my intersection, and I need to go a little slow because of my machine. Okay. That one came out great. Now I need to adjust. We're going to do the same at every intersection. So now what I need to do, I need to line these intersections up before I go any further. All right, so when I'm way back here, what I need to do is I need to make sure I'm lined up. So I'm going to line these up, and maybe I'm going to pop a pin in there just to hold those intersections together because I don't want this to be off. So I'm going to have to maneuver this a little bit, give it a little extra in other places maybe. It's not that noticeable, but trust me, if you do this, then your casing will be nice and straight in a line. This is just like working with sashing, and you have to do this with sashing too if you want your sashing to all line up. And then just continue on, and you may just be maneuvering it a little bit, not much. It's not going to be that noticeable. It's not going to be noticeable probably at all. Now I'm at my pin. Pull your pin out and continue on right over the casing. There. Let's see. Let me go a little further so you can see. See here? See how straight that is now? That's nice and straight. That's what we're looking for. And then continue on. And that's far enough. I need to stop and adjust my casing. See, if I really pull this taut, my casing is going to be off. Can you see? Look right here where my finger is. Watch when I lift this. This could be way down here if I pull this taut. I can't do that. I have to line this up. Allow the extra fabric to get distributed on both sides of this. So this is going to be a little bit more, I'm giving this side a little bit extra to line that up. But it's not noticeable, like I said, because I'm doing it ahead of time. I'm not bunching it up as I get to it. Okay? And now I'm just gonna, and you're just making sure that your bottom is still pulled out down there, making sure that you're all tucked in your case in there. And I could feel it when I went underneath. So I'm coming up to my pin. You can see my casing is lined up here. Needs a little shift there. I'm going to shift it, and I'm going to hold that right in place, and I'm going to sew right over. Okay. Now that one is straight. Let me cut some of these threads off. Okay, make sure your casing is opened. Make sure you're in on the bottom. Now you can pull that if you need to. All right, and now I'm gonna just sew all the way down. take a peek. Not too bad. I got some threads here that all need to be cut off. And I'll go around later and I'll trim off any loose threads. And I probably won't do it till after I wash it. All right. So that's looking good. Everything's straight here, straight here. And let's go to the next one. Pretty straight here. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to do this, and I'm just going to do the same method at each intersection. So as long as you do that, you should be nice and straight. As soon as I have all my rows sewn together, I will come back and show you what my next step's going to be. Now I've got all of the rows put together. My quilt measures about 48 inches across by 58 inches down. I'm going to go ahead and put some 2.5 inch binding all the way around this, and I'll come back when it's all finished. My quilt is all done. And here's the back of the quilt. I just love the back. And here's the label I put on it. It says Jackie Loos YouTube 2026 Stars and Stripes Quilt Challenge. May 2026 by April Sawtelle. And I wrote America's 250th birthday. Thanks so much for following along with the 2026 Stars and Stripes Quilt Challenge. Thank you so much, Jackie Loos, for letting me follow along with you. Please jump on over to Jackie Loos Junk Gal 63 Studios and tell her that April sent you. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Remember to keep it simple. Have a great day. Bye. Thanks again. Bye. Please like and subscribe. Say bye, little Miss Ready Thready.